Today we're diving into one of Pantasy's more technically impressive sets, and it's the Steampunk Airship, part of their steampunk theme. It's built extremely well, and honestly, I think it's a bit of a mechanical marvel. So let's get into it. So before we get into the rest of this video, I just want to thank Pantasy for sending me this set early for review, and as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. So as an overall summary for this set, it is set number 85021, and it comes in with 1,949 pieces. The set itself will take about 4 hours or so to build, and they've labelled it as an expert difficulty, which, as we jump into this review, you're going to see why that's the case. It's nothing too complicated, but it is pretty technical. You get 5 minifigures in this set, the build itself has tons of detail, and what I said in the intro, it is a bit of a mechanical marvel. It is a display piece that knows how to move. Now, my personal build experience for this set was that it was quite straightforward. It did get a little bit complex at times, but thankfully Pantasy's instructions are very clear and easy to follow. If you've ever built a Pantasy set in the past, you're going to be pretty comfortable, I would say, building this set, because they use a similar structure. You have the numbered bags, it's all sorted out nicely. So you shouldn't get lost whilst building this set, despite it being a very complicated one. Pantasy in this set do not use any stickers. You only have pad printed tiles in here as well, which is great. Now, the highlight of this build in particular is that it's more of a technical and mechanical based build. There's loads of gears and lots of moving parts and functions within this set. So as I've mentioned, it is a display piece which knows how to move. Now let's take a closer look. So I want to start with the minifigures, because you get 5 in this set: an explorer, a captain, an engineer, and 2 crew members. And each minifigure has some really crisp printing. Now, the only thing I'm not a fan of are the legs on these minifigures, because they're fixed in position, and instead of bending, you can swap them out for a sitting version. It's not a deal breaker, but personally I do miss that flexibility. However, with that being said, I do think it's very cool that Pantasy are experimenting with new styles, because these characters are definitely unique. They stand out, they have their own slick design, and I think if Pantasy stick with it, it could give their sets a real identity going forward, which I kind of love. So now that we've explored the minifigures, it is time that we take a look at this Steampunk Airship. So let's dive into it. Now, as we inspect the build, I've broken it down into 2 parts. We're going to look at the design and then the mechanics. So the design is exactly what you think. When you hear the word Steampunk Airship, you're getting what your brain pretty much imagines. Starting from the bottom, you have the base, which is super solid. It's built using Technic parts, which gives it just the right amount of stability without wobbling around, which I think is a big win. Moving up to the main deck, it's full of beautiful details. We have gold railings going around the edges, as well as pad printed tiles around the lower frame, which are really well done. We've then got the bow, which reaches out and has some dangling chains off of it, as well as the tied up ropes that eventually do lead up to the balloon itself. There is even a steam boiler tucked in here. You'll find a little pile of coal next to it, as well as a shovel too, which is a really lovely touch, and you can really picture the minifigure fueling the boiler. The colour palette, in my opinion, is brilliant. You have the browns, burgundies and golds all tied together nicely, and then you have the light beige balloon, which works perfectly for it. I really like how this build looks, just as a whole. It looks stunning. Now, speaking of the balloon, it is huge, and honestly, it's one of the most eye-catching parts of the set. When you say the word airship, this is what you expect to see. The pad printed tiles across the balloon surface also gives a real sense of depth and texture. You can see lots of little gold pins going around the edges of the balloon. You have the ropes connected to it as well. I think they've just done a really good job here. We can also see the rope ladders that attach to the balloon and then hang down onto the main deck of the ship. There's some really nice windows. If we go to the back, you can see the tail fins with all the gears around it. There's even a dome-shaped front end that gives it a Zeppelin style finish. This is really well done as well. On top of the balloon itself, you then have the steam chimney that ties the whole silhouette together. This part, in my opinion, reinforces the whole idea that this is a steampunk airship. At the back, I think it gets even better when it comes to the details, because you can see a massive turbine. There are a cluster of gears, as well as the tail fins that actually move. There are also some static golden tail fins, which I think would help with the air control. And it's just the way that they've then got these tiny little ropes connecting the balloon itself to the ship, and it just makes it so satisfying to look at. Now we're going to talk about the mechanics, because I think this is the real highlight and wow factor for this set. It is all powered by one single handle on the side of the ship. I'm not joking, literally just one handle. If you turn it, the whole ship is going to come to life. The tail fins are going to start swinging from side to side. We're going to see gears spinning along both sides of the balloon. The giant rear propeller starts rotating, and the two side propellers also start to rotate. But the part I love most about this is the fact that all the movements look like it's coming out of the boiler, and you can almost feel as if the steam is pushing the gears, and I just think it is such a clever detail. When I first saw all the moving parts in the manual, I did think, this is going to be a little bit of a pain, but honestly, it's not. The instructions are really well laid out, and once you get going, it just clicks. It's very satisfying and it's very rewarding. So now that we've explored the set and you've seen how good it is, I do just want to draw out a few things that you may want to take note of. One is the minifigure situation. They do look great, however, their mobility isn't the best, so it's something that could be improved for future sets. And then also the balloon itself. It is an incredible design, but it is a little bit complicated as you attach all of these areas here on the balloon. It's done on a hinge mechanism, but as you get to those last parts, there's less areas for you to be able to press around to get it a real flush connection. So just bear that in mind. It does get a little bit kind of complicated, a little bit fidgety. I think that's probably a better word for it. But yeah, those are just a couple things I wanted to highlight for this set. Now let's talk about the price. So for the price of this set, it retails for $139.99 USD, which honestly I think is very fair. It does have almost 2,000 pieces. You get 5 characters, as well as a very nice looking build with all the technical and mechanical aspects built into it. It feels very premium. There's also a nice weight to the build itself, so it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. It's pretty heavy to hold, if I'm totally honest with you. Overall, I just think it's a really great set and it's worth the price. So for my final thoughts on this set, if you're into steampunk, I honestly think this is a must-have. It nails the vibe, the engineering, and the visual appeal. Whether you want to display it or integrate it into a wider scene or some sort of world, I think it holds up on its own nonetheless. It's got great character and charm. I think Pantasy have crushed it, if I'm completely honest with you. I am very impressed with this set as a whole. So yeah, that's the Pantasy Steampunk Airship. Let me know your thoughts on this build in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you are new around here, maybe consider subscribing as well. As always, I'll see you in the next one.